I clearly remember that rainy evening in a dimly lit bar in a European capital, when an old acquaintance of mine, a highly successful man well into his 50s, made a confession that chilled me to the bone. He sat with a glass of strong liquor, looking right through me with tired eyes, and talked about his woman. A woman he considered entirely his own, whose body he knew down to the last mole, whose reactions he thought he could read like an open book. He had dedicated years to becoming a flawless lover. He honed his technique with the cold precision of a surgeon. He gave her safety, status, and luxury. And yet, waking up thirsty one night, he looked at her sleeping face and suddenly realized one thing with terrifying clarity. All those moans, the arched back, the damp skin, and the breathless whispers were nothing but a brilliantly rehearsed performance. This realization strikes the most painful nerve of male pride, especially when you are well past 40, 50, or 60. You have come a long way. You have built a career, a business, gained weight in society, and acquired heavy life wisdom. You are used to believing that at least in the bedroom, behind closed doors, on crumpled sheets, you hold the situation under absolute control. You are confident that your colossal experience is an ironclad guarantee of her pleasure. You know exactly how to touch the inside of her thigh, how to hold a pause to make her tremble, how to make her arch toward your movements. But right now, in the darkest corners of her mind, a dull, cold irritation is brewing. There is something she secretly hates about your intimacy, something they do not write about in glossy magazines, and something she will never tell you over morning coffee, terrified of destroying your male ego. This hidden phantom poisons the very essence of animal passion, turning a sacred act into a mechanical duty. We will approach this secret step by step throughout our conversation. This invisible enemy is present in every aspect of your intimacy. He breathes down your neck right during sex, and I promise that in the very end, I will tear off his mask and reveal his true name. But to understand the nature of this phantom, we will have to ruthlessly dissect your intimate life down to the molecules. If this deep psychological approach resonates with your life experience, if you are ready to face the truth and are not afraid of a strike right to the heart, support this video with a like and subscribe to the Hidden Mind channel right now. You can also become our sponsor. This will allow the channel to grow even faster and create the most candid, mature content that hits right on target for you. And before we start dissecting female nature, write just 2 or 3 words in the comments. Indicate how long you have been in your relationship. Just a number and a short word, without overthinking. This will show us how mature and experienced the audience gathered here today is, and we can move forward knowing that we speak the same language. The anatomy of silence. What hides behind her heavy breathing? The greatest illusion of an adult man lies in his blind faith in physiology. When you feel her skin get goosebumps under your confident fingers, when you feel the heat of her body, the slide of moisture, and hear the accelerated rhythm of her breathing, your brain automatically checks the box confirming that you are doing everything absolutely right. You rely on visible, tangible signals. The warmth, the yielding flesh, the tension of abdominal muscles, the involuntary rhythmic movements of the hips. For strict male logic, these are undeniable proofs of your intimate triumph. But this is exactly where the first and most treacherous trap lies, into which men with rich life experience fall. Intoxicated by your own power over her body, you stop looking into her eyes. Yet the famous Austrian psychoanalyst, exploring the dark labyrinths of the human subconscious, pointed out the frightening capacity of the female psyche for radical splitting. In moments of the closest intimate connection, the body of a woman can eagerly respond to proper physical stimulation, while her consciousness, her true essence, is thousands of miles away from your bedroom. Her nerve endings faithfully transmit signals to the brain, blood rushes to the right zones, physiology works flawlessly, like a Swiss watch. But her soul at that moment is tightly shut behind steel shutters. She might close her eyes, throw her head back, and dig her nails into your shoulders not from unbearable pleasure, as you would desperately like to believe. She does this to shut herself off from reality, to immerse herself in her own fantasies, inaccessible to you, or simply to endure, to wait out this process while you proudly enjoy your masculine strength. Let us dive a level deeper into this mechanism. Imagine a virtuoso musician sitting at an incredibly expensive, collectible grand piano. He knows the score by heart. His trained fingers flawlessly hit the right keys. The rhythm is perfect. The tempo is calibrated by decades of practice. But he plays absolutely mechanically, thinking at that moment about unpaid bills or a business meeting. The music plays, the chords are right, but there is no magic, no spark, no life itself in it. This is exactly what sex often looks like for a woman when her adult partner is flawlessly technical, but completely emotionally deaf at the same time. You run a hot palm along the inside of her thigh. You know exactly where to linger, how to change the pressure, how to hit those sensitive spots. It is a beautiful, aesthetic game of an adult predator who knows how to deliver high-quality pleasure. But she feels this cold, mechanical nature with her skin. She feels that you are playing by memorized notes that you developed in a past life, in beds with dozens of other women. At this moment, she becomes for you just a convenient tool to confirm your masculine validity, a mirror in which you want to see your unfading youth. The shadow of the past in your bedroom, how hidden complexes control her body. When a man crosses the threshold of 50, he often brings into the bedroom not only his experience, but also a monumental confidence that he controls the process from beginning to end. You enter her, you set the pace, you control the depth of penetration. But you do not even suspect that right now, on these very sheets, ghosts are invisibly present with you. The ghosts of her past traumas, social conditioning, and imposed complexes, which the grandfather of psychoanalysis wrote about. Female sexuality is incredibly plastic and, unfortunately, easily traumatized. How she reacts to your touches on her breasts, how she instinctively tenses up, or, conversely, unnaturally relaxes, is often dictated not by your actions, but by her internal censor. You think you are making love to a free, adult woman, but in reality, you are walking through a minefield of her subconscious fears. She might fake an orgasm not because she wants to deceive you, but because in her past experience, the absence of a quick finish caused aggression or resentment in men. Pay attention to the microscopic details you previously ignored in the heat of passion. That barely noticeable tension in her neck when you change to a more dominant position. That fleeting, almost imperceptible chill in her eyes when you say certain dirty words. These are not her true desires, these are her defense mechanisms. An adult man often confuses female submission with a sincere desire to surrender. You take her with the power of your authority. You press her into the mattress, feeling like a winner. And she, at that moment, simply turns on survival mode, surrendering to the mercy of the victor to avoid conflict. It is this dissonance between your triumph and her internal emptiness that creates the very abyss into which many long marriages fall. You do not notice how your bedroom turns into a theater of shadows. You demand passion from her, but at the same time, you yourself are not ready to meet her real, frightening desires, preferring a convenient, safe version of sex where you always remain the main director. The trap of a flawless rhythm. Why your technique is slowly killing passion. We have come to a paradox that destroys the self-esteem of the most experienced men. For years you have honed your intimate technique. You learn to control your body. You can make love for hours. You know dozens of positions. You know how to stimulate the right zones with the right intensity. Your endurance and your knowledge seem to be your main trump card. But the brutal truth is that this very polished, sterile perfection becomes a noose around the neck of your intimacy. Remember how your typical intimate scenario goes? You start with predictable kisses, then your hands glide along a strictly approved route. You move on to stimulation. Then follows the main part with a perfectly calibrated rhythm of friction that is guaranteed to lead to a result. You are proud of this scheme. But for a woman, this predictability is tantamount to torture by boredom. When every movement of yours can be calculated 3 steps ahead, the most important fuel leaves sex, the animal, primal danger. Sexual tension is built on uncertainty, on the edge between control and a complete loss of reason. When you have sex like an experienced mechanic rebuilding the engine of an elite car, you strip the process of its magic. She lies beneath you, feeling the weight of your body, the warmth of your skin, the rhythmic, deep thrusts. But her brain screams from a lack of chaos. She does not need a flawless metronome in bed. She needs a man who can break loose, who can lose control from just her scent, who will tear her underwear off not on schedule, but because he cannot contain his primal hunger. Your perfect technique turns intimacy into a transaction. You kind of say with your body that I will do everything right now. I will press all the buttons, and you are obliged to give me a portion of admiration and an orgasm as a receipt of payment. And she delivers. She moans, she writhes, she scratches your back because she knows the rules of this game. But deep down she hates this calculating, safe rhythm. She craves a storm, and you offer her warm, stagnant water in an expensive pool. The unawakened archetype, the wild side that you are afraid to set free. Here we touch upon the concept of the shadow, which the famous Swiss psychiatrist talked about so much. In every woman, even in the most refined, educated, and reserved lady, an ancient, dark, primal archetype of a wild female slumbers. This is that part of her psyche that craves roughness, dominance on the verge of pain, a violation of all social norms and decencies. But the tragedy of mature couples lies in the fact that older men are terrified of waking this beast. When you have lived with a woman for many years, when she has become the mother of your children, the keeper of your hearth, your reliable life partner, you start treating her like a fragile porcelain vase. You make love to her carefully, respectfully, with a sense of deep tact. You are afraid to seem like a rough animal. You are afraid to scare her with dirty words, harsh hair pulling, or a sudden animalistic drive. You protect her lady status even in those moments when all her clothes are torn off. But it is exactly in the bedroom that she wants to stop being a lady the most. The desire to be taken by force, the desire to submit to a powerful, indomitable masculine energy, the desire to feel weak and helpless before your onslaught. This is a powerful aphrodisiac. When you gently kiss her neck, she might be fantasizing about how you will press her against a cold wall, forcefully squeeze her throat and take her hard, without foreplay and long talks. But you are too well-mannered for this. You value your image of a wise, calm patriarch too much. This fear of unleashing dark energy leads to a huge layer of her sexuality remaining unclaimed, rotting alive under a thick layer of family well-being. She continues to smile at you over breakfast. She adjusts your tie, but her wild nature is slowly fading, and you do not even guess that behind her calm, measured breathing during your proper, family sex hides a silent scream of disappointment. The illusion of a physical finale, why the most important part begins when you turn away. For most men, the culmination of physical intimacy means the logical and final end of the process. You reach the peak, your body shakes in release, the tension subsides, your pulse returns to normal. The physiological mechanism has completed its task. After that follows a short kiss, you exhale heavily, roll over to your side of the bed, and feel complete, well-deserved satisfaction. The deed is done. You did a great job. But at this very second, when you turn away to plunge into sleep, the main drama unfolds in her mind. For a woman, an orgasm, even if it was real and deep, is not the end of the road. It is only the top of the mountain from which you still need to descend correctly. Those first 10 or 15 minutes after your bodies separate are the most critical moment in which she evaluates the whole essence of your relationship. When you instantly switch off from contact, when the warmth of your body disappears, leaving her on cooling sheets, she feels a sharp, painful break in connection. At this moment, a colossal cocktail of attachment hormones is released into her blood. She is maximally vulnerable. She is open. She needs emotional confirmation that everything that just happened was not just a mechanical release of tension. But she only sees your back. And then the physical release is replaced by an oppressive feeling of emptiness. The feeling that she was simply used, even if virtuously and technically, gets under her skin. She lies in the dark looking at the ceiling and listens to your steady breathing. The smell of sex still hangs in the air, her body is still pulsating, but the emotional distance between you at this moment is measured in light years. This coldness after intimacy accumulates like radiation. She will not throw a scandal for you right now. But the next time you reach out to her, her body will remember this feeling of loneliness on cooled sheets, and it will take her much more effort to force herself to open up to you again. Your habit of turning away after the finale slowly but surely paves the road to complete cooling. A dark forecast. What will happen if you leave everything as it is? If you continue to close your eyes to these invisible processes, if you stubbornly cling to the illusion that your perfect technique and life experience solve all problems, an absolutely predictable and very gloomy finale awaits you. It will not happen in one day. It will be a slow, creeping fading that you will only notice when the process becomes irreversible. First, she will start finding elegant excuses: sudden migraines, overwhelming fatigue after work, blood pressure problems, stress because of the kids. You will get angry. You will try to reclaim your legitimate right to her body, but the bedroom will imperceptibly turn into a zone of polite alienation. Sex will become a rare favor, a duty that she will serve with a stone face just so you finish faster and leave her alone. Then spontaneity will disappear. Any accidental touch of yours to her shoulder in the kitchen, any innocent gesture or long look will be perceived by her not as a prelude to passion, but as an alarm signal, as another encroachment on her depleted emotional resource. She will begin to build invisible barricades out of household problems, fatigue, and cold indifference, just to avoid staying alone with you in a space where she will be required again to play the role of an obedient lover. This cooling process will hit you harder than you can imagine. A man of mature age, accustomed to social victories and total control, perceives a systematic sexual refusal not just as a physical lack, but as the collapse of his basic male identity. Your ego will start to bleed. You will begin to look for the reason in yourself, in your age, in your appearance. Perhaps you will even begin to silently suspect her of infidelity. But the harsh truth will be that she has not stopped loving you as a person. She simply can no longer bear that suffocating, sterile emptiness that has filled your bed like an invisible fog. You will turn into wealthy, socially respected, but completely alien neighbors in an expensive property. You will sleep under one big blanket, but an icy, insurmountable desert will lie between your backs. And the scariest thing in this dark forecast is that you will lose that very primal spark, that life energy that has fed a man for centuries, making him a predator in business and an unbending support in life. Without a genuine, wild, deep energy exchange with a woman, a man begins to rapidly fade, turning from a conqueror full of strength into a tired observer, living out his days in the golden cage of his own comfort. The main secret, that one single thing she secretly hates in intimacy. We have come to the very essence, to that very phantom that was invisibly present in every word of ours, in every scenario analyzed today. You have been waiting for this moment, and now we will tear off every single mask. This secret is so paradoxical for direct male logic that most men refuse to believe it until it is too late. Are you ready to hear the truth that will forever erase many of your established beliefs about how to treat a woman behind closed doors? What your woman secretly, deeply, and desperately hates about your intimacy is your absolute, ironclad emotional safety. She hates that you are having sex not with her, but with your own reflection in her eyes. She hates your position as an invulnerable observer. Let us break this phenomenon down to atoms. When you enter the bedroom, you bring with you the heavy armor of your life experience. You act like an incredibly experienced but detached puppeteer. You skillfully pull the strings of her physiology. You make her body respond. You bring her to the peak. But at the same time, you yourself remain in full, total control over your own mind. You do not lose your head. You do not dissolve in her completely. You watch her reactions from top to bottom, like a condescending, wise maestro watching the play of an obedient instrument. Your breathing only hitches from physical exertion, but not from an animalistic, primal hunger burning from the inside for this specific woman. She feels with her skin that for you, this intimate act is just another confirmation of your validity, just another checkmark on the list of your daily successes. You are absolutely safe because you risk nothing in this process. You do not open your deepest vulnerability. You do not show her that wild, uncontrollable part of your male soul that can break off the chain from just the smell of her hair. You always remain a proper, technical, flawlessly experienced man who came, confidently took what was his, satisfied his partner, and calmly went to sleep. But for a woman with a deep psychological organization, a true, mind-blowing passion is born only at the moment of a mutual fall into the abyss. She wants to see your perfect facade of a successful, unshakable person collapse. She wants to feel with every cell of her body that at the moment of intimacy, you need her so desperately that you are ready to lose face. It is vital for her that you forget all your learned techniques, all your perfect, calibrated rhythms, and just take her as if tomorrow will never come. As if her body is the only saving dose of oxygen in a room from which all the air has been instantly pumped out. When you strictly control your every measured movement, you deprive her of the intoxicating feeling of her own exclusivity. If you are so flawless and cold-minded in moments of the highest pleasure, then absolutely any other attractive woman could be in her place, and your boasted technique would work exactly the same way without failing. This cold thought kills her animal desire at its root. She fiercely hates being just a convenient object to apply your skills honed over the years. She wants to be the only reason for your total loss of control. She wants your thirst to possess her to be 1,000 times stronger than your reason, stronger than your colossal experience, stronger than your solid age. Try to remember the last time you looked her straight in the eye at the moment of the highest culmination. Not hiding behind tightly closed eyelids, not turning away, but giving her all of yourself without a trace, without psychological protection, looking into the very depths of her pupils. Try to remember the last time you allowed yourself to be awkward, greedy, imperfect, but absolutely, totally present in this specific moment. This primal sincerity, this frightening nakedness of the male soul, scares men over 50 much more than a global financial crisis or a loss of status. It subconsciously seems to you that if you lose control in the bedroom, you will lose power forever. But the paradox is that in bed with a woman, absolute power is voluntarily given to the man who is not afraid to be vulnerable. Your comfortable safety is a concrete cage for her wild nature. As long as you remain a flawless, detached, technical performer, she will remain a closed book, skillfully faking pleasure just to avoid hurting your fragile male ego. Start ruthlessly breaking this scenario. Break the usual pattern. Stop being a correct, convenient lover. Become a living man who greedily breathes his woman, who is not afraid to show his primal thirst, who can abruptly stop in the middle of a perfect rhythm simply because he is overwhelmed by a rush of feelings. Only then will you forever kill this icy phantom and bring real, burning, pulsating life back into your bedroom. We have come a long, difficult way, methodically dissecting the darkest and most hidden corners of female psychology and destroying established male illusions. What we discussed so frankly today requires considerable courage to realize and even more internal strength to put into practice. If this deep, uncompromising analysis made you rethink your many years of experience, if you found an exact reflection of your own life in these harsh words, be sure to support this video with a like. This is the best, most honest signal for me that such complex, uncomfortable, but vitally important topics are truly needed on this channel. Right now, subscribe to the channel so as not to miss our next deep dives into the psychology of relationships, where we will continue to tear off beautiful masks from the most uncomfortable truths. And most importantly, write in the comments which of the points analyzed today became the strongest, most piercing revelation for you. What specific thought caught you the most and made you think? Let us gather a powerful concentrate of real male experience and wisdom in the comments. It will be incredibly valuable for every viewer who comes here for answers. I thank you for your precious time, for your depth of understanding, and for your readiness to look harsh truth straight in the eye. See you soon.